Shalom. So, oops, wrong. To be there. I meant to be there. Okay, here we are. This is my message to any Mormon missionaries who may be watching, even though I'm guessing a lot of Mormon missionaries are doing exactly what they're supposed to be doing, which is not being on YouTube. But if you are on YouTube, then I think this is hopefully the message for you. I'm not a Mormon. I've never been a Mormon, and there's no realistic chance that I will ever, I think, become a Mormon. I'm Jewish. I come from a Jewish and Hasidic background, and I don't really think that Joseph Smith was a prophet. Don't even think he was a good guy. Don't really think Brigham Young was a prophet, and also don't think he was a good guy. And while President Nelson seems like a fine person, pretty sure he's not a prophet. But I have recently gotten to know several young elders, missionaries from the LDS, and I have got to know many people who are faithful Mormons, and I have also started to see a lot of things that are going on in the Mormon community, which parallel a lot of what I've seen in the Hasidic community, actually, and in the broader culture. And it's caused me a lot of concern. The LDS is a battleground for the culture war, obviously. Politics, Mitt Romney is a big name, and what seems to me is that there has been a sustained effort to try to dismantle the LDS in a similar manner as there's also been an effort to dismantle many religious communities for ideological purposes. Now, I'm not saying that John Dehlin is a bad person, that he's a liar, that he is even knowingly a pawn of other sources. But I've noticed things that caused me to want to help people who might be falling into a trap that Dehlin himself should know much better than to help people fall into than he is. He's a psychologist. He knows what the cognitive distortion of splitting is. And splitting is a very unhealthy thing that we human beings do a lot. And it's something that affects younger and immature people in certain ways, which is we think things are either good or bad. And that's not the world in which we live. And so when John Dehlin first started Mormon Voices, this is his description of Mormon Voices on Facebook, Mormon Voices is an independent organization that is supportive of, but not controlled by or affiliated with, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Mormon Voices has been created to respond to false information put forward in the media. The intent is to assist journalists, authors, bloggers, producers, and others in the media in getting their stories right, and to correct misinformation and distortions about Mormons, Mormonism, and other faith communities. Mormon Voices is not affiliated with the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. It is sponsored by the Foundation for Apologetic Information and Research. Now, that's where it started. This is where it is today. This was put out a few days ago. Might have even been yesterday, but yeah, it hasn't been that long. I saw it yesterday, and it's one of their most recent videos. I want you to understand something really important here. Just because something isn't perfect doesn't mean that it's bad. In fact, in the real world, everything is imperfect. Don't let the perfect be the enemy of the good, and don't let people convince you in ways that John Dehlin should know better than, that the criticism of something in complete isolation from everything else is actually giving you a good and fair and objective look at what is going on. And it's not necessary for John Dehlin or anybody else to realize that they may be, in fact, being used in order to advance a certain cause. The best spokesperson for a cause is somebody who actually genuinely believes in it. And so if I want somebody to make an argument for me, I don't go around looking for somebody who is good at making arguments and give them money and expect them to change their position and advocate for my position. What I do is I find somebody who advocates for the position I want to be advocated, hopefully somebody who's good at it, and fund them, likely without even their knowing. Now, I want you to understand what's going on here. John Dehlin talks a lot about informed consent. Well, if you're paying attention to the culture wars, you should notice that's a tactic that's used actually a lot by the pro-life, anti-abortion people about informed consent. Except the information that they demand everybody have is that information which helps them make the choice that they want people to make. There's no such thing as perfectly informed consent. There's no such thing as being actually informed, right? Completely. That's not how human beings work. And that's what really bothered me about this video of his, Mormon Church telling young men that they no longer have a choice about serving missions. What he's doing and what this channel is doing is not actually giving you an objective look at the real world. My fear is not that you will leave the LDS. I don't actually care if you leave the LDS, really. I care what you leave it for. The problem here is when I listen to his conversations with people, I see that they're being guided in a way that from the outside we can see is not healthy. He is moving people towards new atheism. And new atheism is destroying people's lives. Brett Weinstein, you can look him up. He's an atheist. He is an evolutionary biologist. He will tell you atheism is a defensible position. In fact, it is his position. New atheism is not a defensible position. John Vervaeke, again, former Christian, now a professor of cognitive psychology at the University of Toronto. He will tell you that there are really good things about religion and religiosity. Just because you may have doubts and questions about the LDS, about Mormonism, about Joseph Smith, about the Book of Mormon, about everything that goes on within your family, doesn't mean that it's still not the place that you want to be. And I'm not going to say this in order to compare John Dehlin to Satan. I am going to help, hopefully, for you to understand that bad things still have truths within them. Okay? Genesis 2, we're taught that God makes the tree, and he makes man, and he commands Adam that here, verse 9, and out of the ground ground made the Lord God to grow every tree that is pleasant to the sight and good for food, the tree of life also in the midst of the garden, and the tree of knowledge of good and evil. And a river, and the third river, and verse 16, and the Lord God commanded the man, saying, of every tree of the garden thou mayst freely eat, but of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil thou shalt not eat of it, for in the day that thou eatest thereof thou shalt surely die. And then the Lord makes, notice what it doesn't say, which is, it doesn't say touch, it says eat. Important point. Then God makes Eve, right? And then the next verse, now the next chapter, now the serpent was more subtle than any beast of the field which the Lord God had made. And he said unto the woman, yea, hath God said, ye shall not eat of every tree of the garden? And the woman said unto the serpent, we may eat of the fruit of the trees of the garden, but of the fruit of the tree which is in the midst of the garden, God hath said, ye shall not eat of it, neither shall ye touch it, lest ye die. Let's go back to the point. Did it say that? No. And the serpent said unto the woman, ye shall not surely die. There is a teaching in the Midrash, which is a rabbinic teaching, that in fact what happened was Adam told her, don't even touch it. And she thought that it was a commandment from God. And the serpent came and pushed her into the tree. She touched it and she did not die. And that grain of truth helped Satan to deceive Eve. Whether or not you believe that the Bible is literally true is beside the point. And that's why what I want to stress the most, even from secular knowledge, we know that the Bible is one of the oldest books of wisdom that human beings have. It has value in your life. And when you're looking for however you're going to live your life, do not simply cast away everything that has to do with things that you find to be false. There are grains of truth even in the most false of things. Even Satan uses the truth in order to deceive you. And as an adult, what you need to do, what you want to do, is actually to separate the good from the bad. Don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. And live a good life. When you look around you, I think you will see that, in fact, LDS families are many of the most healthy families in the world. Family home evening on Monday nights is one of the best things that anybody can have in this world from secular or a religious point of view. Don't throw that away. And what I've seen a lot of is John Dehlin. It seems to be telling people to throw things away, even though his message used to be not to throw them away. And that bothers me a lot. He says, I don't want you to stop being a Mormon. He says, I don't want people to end up committing suicide. I want to save their marriages. But that's not what I'm seeing him actually accomplish through the discussions that he's having. And that's why I want to introduce you to alternative voices that are actually going to help you without constantly attacking your faith and constantly attacking the LDS. John Vervaeke, complete atheist, completely secular ideas. He does not consider himself a theist at all. In fact, if he is any religion, it would be Buddhist. He's going to teach you much more useful ways of looking at things and healthier ways of looking at things than, unfortunately, Dr. John Dehlin, who is a psychologist, is. And I can only hope that John Dehlin simply doesn't know about the latest science. Professor Vervaeke, who is a professor of cognitive psychology at the University of Toronto and one of the leading academics in the world, will teach you much better things, as will many other people. Don't get caught up into criticism of the Mormon Church and the LDS, because I don't want you to end up with nothing good. One of the teachings of Jesus that I think is very valuable regardless of your religious stance. Now, in 1 Samuel 24, this is actually the Jewish concept that Jesus later brings on in Matthew 7. But it's a very important Jewish concept that is still used today. Verse 13, this is where King David was being pursued by King Saul. King Saul wanted to kill him. God gives King David an opportunity to kill King Saul, and King David does not take the opportunity. Verse 12, the Lord judge between me and thee, and the Lord avenge me of thee, but mine hand shall not be upon thee. As saith the proper proverb of the ancients. Now notice, this is mashal kadmoni in the Hebrew. Proverb of the ancients in the Bible. You can take this to the bank as one of the most valuable pieces of human knowledge, secular or not, that has ever existed. Wickedness proceedeth from the wicked, but mine hand shall not be upon thee. And mi rashai tete resha, this concept of By their fruits you shall know them, is how this has been translated into English and into Christianity by Jesus. And in Matthew 7, very important and Jewish teachings, might as well read the whole thing. Judge not, that ye not be not judged. For with what judgment ye judge, ye shall be judged. And with what measure ye mete, it shall be measured to you again. And why beholdest thou the mote that is in thy brother's eyes, but considerest not the beam that is in thine own eye? Or how wilt thou say to thy brother, let me pull out the mote out of thine eye, and behold, a beam is in thine own eye? Thou hypocrite, first cast out the beam out of thine own eye, and then shalt thou see clearly to cast out the mote out of thy brother's eye. Give not that which is holy unto the dogs, neither cast ye your pearls before swine, lest they trample them under their feet, and turn again and rend you. Ask, and it shall be given you. Seek, and ye shall find. Knock, and it shall be opened unto you. For every one that asketh receiveth, and he that seeketh findeth, and to him that knocketh it shall be opened. Or what man is there of you, whom if his son ask bread, will he give him a stone? Or if he ask a fish, will he give him a serpent? If ye then, being evil, know how to give good gifts unto your children, how much more shall your Father, which is in heaven, give good things to them that ask him? Therefore, all things whatsoever ye would that men should do to you, do ye even so to them. For this is the law and the prophets. Enter ye and in at the strait gate, for wide is the gate, and broad is the way that leadeth to destruction. And many there be which go in thereat. Because strait is the gate, and narrow is the way which leadeth unto life, and few there be that find it. Beware of false prophets, which come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly they are ravening wolves. Ye shall know them by their fruits. Do men gather grapes of thorns, or figs of thistles? Even so, every good tree bringeth forth good fruit, but a corrupt tree bringeth forth evil fruit. And a good tree cannot bring forth evil fruit, neither can a corrupt tree bring forth good fruit. Every tree that bringeth not forth good fruit is hewn down and cast into the fire. Wherefore by their fruits ye shall know them. Not every one that saith unto me, Lord, Lord, shall enter into the kingdom of heaven, but he that doeth the will of my Father which is in heaven. Many will say to me in that day, Lord, Lord, have we not prophesied in thy name, and in thy name have cast out devils, and in thy name done many wonderful works? And then I will profess unto them, I never knew you. Depart from me, ye that work in iniquity. Therefore, whosoever heareth these sayings of mine and doeth them, I will liken him unto a wise man, which built his house upon a rock. And the rain descended, and the floods came, and the winds blew and beat upon that house, and it fell not, for it was founded upon a rock. And every one that heareth these things of mine, and doeth them not, shall be likened unto a foolish man, which built his house upon the sand. And the rain descended, and the floods came, and the winds blew, and beat upon that house, and it fell, and great was the fall of it. And it came to pass, when Jesus had ended these sayings, the people were astonished at his doctrine, for he taught them as one having authority, and not as the scribes. Now, I have to say, there are parts of this that I could argue with. I'm not a Christian. Don't believe in the Gospels. Certainly don't believe in the LDS. Don't throw out the baby with the bathwater. Have a discerning spirit, look for that which is good, that has a solid foundation, that bears good fruit, and turn away from the ravening wolves who come in sheep's clothing. Again, I don't know John Dehlin. I can't say that he necessarily realizes the mistakes that he's making, but the worst the worst mistake you can make is to jump out of the frying pan into the fire without looking. Yeah, there are many, many, many problems, I believe, with the LDS, as there are with all human beings. I've seen similar things happen in the Hasidic community, where somebody who grew up in a Hasidic life sees a lot of problems and leaves, especially through organizations that are funded by people who want to see the Hasidic lifestyle end. But they're not offering you something better. John Dehlin, he's not offering you something better. Just because you may decide to leave the religious lifestyle, that doesn't mean that materialism, secularity, and the problems of the secular world are precisely as he is presenting them to you. Seen a lot of left-wing ridiculousness, a lot of obviously wrong and dishonest, I would say. Not sure if I can say it is necessarily dishonest, because I don't know if they necessarily know what they're saying is false, but it certainly is false. Don't jump from the frying pan into the fire. He, in this, really seems to be celebrating what he says is a fact, that up to a third of missionaries leave their missions early. It's possible. I don't know. I don't know if this is true. People have told me that it's not. If it is, it's distressing to me, not because I want necessarily for people to stay in the LDS. Again, I don't believe in Joseph Smith. I don't believe in Brigham Young. I have a lot of criticisms of the LDS. I don't want to see young men give up. I don't want to see young men have no purpose in their lives. I don't want their family life to be destroyed. I want to see you thrive. I want you to see you be successful. And nothing, not in secularity, not in academic human knowledge, nothing is telling you that the way forward is any of the things that John Dehlin seems to be advocating. The idea of informed consent. Yeah, I want you to be informed about the important things in life. And in a sense, I want you to know a lot of things that John Dehlin is trying to put in front of people. But the idea that it is a binary of whether or not you are informed or not, that's something he should know better than. He's a psychologist. He knows what cognitive distortions are. The idea, the way he presents this whole thing, somebody who tells you that the LDS is a cult obviously doesn't know what they're talking about. I know what real cults are. There are people who use the word cult as a pejorative for any lifestyle they don't like. That's not how the LDS is working. Again, is it perfect? I don't think so. No. But by their fruits you shall know them. Look at the fruits of the LDS. They are good fruit. They are strong families that are bound together in kindness and in truth. And don't throw all of that away for nothing. And I do mean nothing. Nihilism, existentialism, all the horrible things of secularity. That's the world I came from. That's what I was raised in. My parents did not raise me to be a religious person. And I mean, obviously, I'm not living a Hasidic. I don't look like a Hasidic Jew. In fact, I live a mostly secular lifestyle. But secularity is not John Dehlin's secularity. His criticisms are not the necessary criticisms you need to have. Don't fall into this false binary of being either pro-church or anti-church, of feeling you have to leave your mission early as opposed to complete it, or getting depressed, anxious. I don't want that from you, for you. I want you to thrive. I want you to bear good fruit. This isn't the way forward. John Dehlin should know better than this. And if he doesn't, that's just negligence. And if he does, that's just pure maliciousness. In either case, this is not healthy. Mormon Stories podcast presents itself in ways that I think are, in fact, very dangerous. If you want to explore secularity, by all means, do. There are lots of ways of doing that, which don't necessarily throw you into the culture wars, don't necessarily throw you from the frying pan into the fire, and don't destroy all the great fruits that your family, your parents, your grandparents, everybody around you has been trying to produce for you. If someone is telling you the LDS is a cult, I have to ask them, compared to what? What are they offering you? What's that life that they're offering you that's better than what you have? And if it's a life of video games and pornography and masturbation and drugs and alcohol, which is what a lot of the things that he is steering people towards, that's not good fruit. Anyway, if you have questions, comments, want to engage more, please do. I'm not going anywhere. And from everything I've seen, hopefully, I think I'm going to continue being engaged in the LDS community because it is a beautiful community. Not because I agree with nearly anything that Joseph Smith said, but because Matthew 7 has a lot of value. A lot of value. It has secular value. Don't throw away the baby with the bathwater. Don't throw away everything. Take measured steps and be careful who you run to, because what I see here is not guiding you towards anything healthy. Be well. I'll leave you with the my version of what's called the Serenity Prayer. It's the oftentimes called the Alcoholic's Prayer, and anybody who actually really cares about you will tell you that this is one of the most healthy prayers that any secular that any advocate of healthy secular psychology could possibly give you. May the one grant us the strength to change that which we can, the grace to accept that which we cannot, and the wisdom to know the difference. That's a secular prayer.